coming together at a holy spot to take a dip, to commemorate the moment, we thought we on the show should dedicate our show today to talking a little bit more about it.
So we'll talk to some very interesting people who went and took a dip at the Kumbh to understand their experience. We couldn't go, so clearly we're going to be living vicariously to understand what changed for them. Why is Kumbh? Well, why is there so much chatter about it? Also on the program today is World Protein Day. So we tell you, with all the spirituality aside, the temple of your body, how to get the right protein there in check. That's what we're going to discuss. I'm Sonal, Mehrotra, Kapoor. Let's get started. The biggest gathering on earth, 6 weeks, 65 crore devotees. How did it all really work? Inside the mega operation that was Maha Kumbh, from AI drones to 50,000 cops, the final holy dip. What were the outcomes really?
And we're taking a look at India Design ID. The country's most anticipated design week just took place. And we take a look at the fresh perspectives, the creative innovations that were present there as thousands gathered to see these cutting-edge designs, art, craftsmanship, design, all coming together. Kaveri brings you this report.
Also, the power of protein, a global celebration. But what is a good amount of protein to have? Or are we hyping up the amount of protein intake in our diets altogether? Let's bust some myths, bring in some facts with experts on the program today.
And after that, we take you to another fairy tale wedding. This time we're looking at Prajakta and Rishank's enchanting wedding. Prajakta, someone who has been loved for her humor for almost a decade now, tying the knot in style. All highlights coming up right here on the show.
Alright, for 45 days, the world's largest spiritual gathering unfolded in Prayagraj, an event so massive, it didn't just draw crowds, it shaped economies, it tested infrastructure capabilities and pushed the limits of security and surveillance. The Mahakumbh 2025 was a spiritual reminder, a technological experiment and an economic powerhouse for all those things. In fact, it was all of that rolled into one. Over 65 crore devotees, more than the population of most countries, gathered for a dip in the holy confluence of Ganga, Yamuna and the Saraswati. Key days like the Moni Amavasya alone saw over 8 crore pilgrims, making it one of the highest single-day turnouts ever recorded at any event across the globe. But it wasn't just faith that ran deep, right? The numbers tell a story of unprecedented scale as well, on so many different ways.
Now, there's obviously the boost to the economy that we've talked a lot about right here on the show. So 3 lakh crore that was sped to a security force of 50,000 cops, 2,700 AI-powered cameras, 113 underwater drones scanning the waters. It operated like a high-tech fortress. But what did it actually mean for people on the ground? We're going to take a look at in just a second from now. The tent city alone used 100 kilometers of fabric, 68 lakh wooden poles, a setup that was supposed to be so vast that you could actually wrap it around the Earth's circumference half a time over. More than 350 special trains, a 7-tier security system, fire safety stations, control rooms, watchtowers, a social media monitoring system 24/7. It all sounds very impressive. How was it on the ground for those who attended? What was it like to attend again and again and again in those 45 days? We're going to get to know that and more, because at the heart of all of this was a simple act. Millions of people stepping into the waters, believing in something larger than themselves. This morning, we're going to break it all down, the staggering figures as we just walked you through, the security behemoth, the economic impact, and what this means for the future of all of these mega gatherings. All right, to discuss this in a lot more depth, we have with us 2 different people on the show today. First, returning to us once again, we have Nick Booker. He's also known as Indogenius. He's a well-known historian, and his videos on this entire Mela have been going viral again and again. We've had you on, we've talked about it. We'll come to you in just a second. We also have with us Ami Gantra. She's with us. She's an author. Ami, we've also seen so many of your videos around this, explaining the significance of the Mahakumbh to audiences on the internet, audiences in the Mahakumbh itself. So we'll come to you in a second too. Let's go to Nick first though, just to understand a little bit more. Nick, again, as we were just telling our audiences, you're someone who we've had on the show before. You also visited the Mahakumbh 3 different times. You were there for, I think, 15 days, which of the total amount of time means you were there 1 in every 3 days. That's a lot of time spent in Mahakumbh. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to be there 3 different times, and if you felt changes in the sort of the spiritual vibe in the space over those 3 visits.
Namaskar Toya ji, namaskar Sonal ji.
Namaskar.
Good morning, wonderful
morning.
to be back with you. Yes, I mean, sadly I wasn't at Kumbh or Kashi yesterday for Shivratri, Mahashivratri, but I was fortunate enough to spend, as you say, about 15 days, 3 visits, 6 Sangam snans. And of course, the energy changes. So when we talk about energy, obviously, you know, many people talk about spiritual energy, but just physically, there was a pulsation and a change. You have the solar cycle, so it was cold. I mean, when we begin this in Makar Sankranti, Posh Purnima, we couldn't even see the moon or the sun. It was that cloudy. And now it's beautiful sunshine, blue skies. The water's warmer, everything is very, very different. Spring is in the air. So you have that seasonal change, but then also there are the crowds. So in terms of the number of devotees of Tirthyatris attending, that pulsates as well. So there were a lot at the beginning, then it comes down and it goes right. So it swells and rises. What was interesting is at certain times, because people were thinking that on the main snan, the Shahi Amrit Snan days, there would be a lot of people. Actually, that meant that on some of the days in between, there were more people because everyone was thinking, well, everyone's going on that day, so we'll go on this day.
Let me squeeze in,
So there was a rhythm to Kumbh, which was driven by the lunar cycle. First of all, that Posh Purnima and Makar Sankranti morning, and then, of course, Mauni Amavasya, where the crowds swelled beyond belief. I mean, you had to be there, traveling around as we did by foot, by motorbike, in order to going through the city, taking the trains out of Prayagraj Junction, going to the Sangam, in order to appreciate just how many more people there were that weekend, that Mauni Amavasya week, those days, than there were on other days, including even the beginning, Maghi Purnima, Shivratri. It was a lot more people in those few days.
So you're saying that there has been a pattern to how Kumbh, there has not been one way to actually describe it, but think
Impossible.
about if there was one. I know Ami is also waiting. Ami, I just want to get like a big picture here. You know, Kumbh has been around for so long. I grew up in UP, not very far from Allahabad. It used to be Allahabad back then. In fact, my grandmother's there, so I used to visit very often. So I've seen constantly, like every year or every 4 years at least, this entire sort of Kumbh coming up. But never before has the excitement been this much. Never before have brands put in so much of themselves. Never before have younger people gone to Kumbh in the amount they have. What changed this year? What was different?
So namaste, suprabhatam to all of you. This was actually my 3rd Kumbh. My first was in 2013. After that, I went for the Ardha Kumbh in 2019 and then this one. And yes, you are very right. This time, the excitement around Kumbh has been phenomenal. One of the things is the way it has been told that this is once in 144 years. This is one of those Maha Kumbh. So of course that created a lot of hype around it. But the other thing, as I see, Sonal, is also that the accessibility has become so much easier to Prayag now, right? 2013 when I was there were no flights to Prayag. Kashi had maybe 1 or 2 flights. There were no trains. So I think a lot of credit for this also goes to the government. Because they made it possible for people to be able to go there. People always wanted to go. People knew of Kumbh. So one, it made accessibility was much easier. Second, I think social media definitely helped. All the marketing that happened around Kumbh. And also the fact that as Kumbh started, you saw lots of celebrities go, right?
Yeah.
You saw actors go, you saw politicians go. You saw everything live. And that created even more excitement. I think all the news channels, portals, they were all just over there. And even if you go to Sangam, you find these vans of all the media houses over there, right? So I think you have also played a big role in making Kumbh cool for the younger generation. And Instagram, of course, there were reels starting from day one, right? The reels, people talking about how much fun they are having, what is the experience they are going through, the kind of Shraddha you've seen in action. This was there. This was always there for Kumbh. But now that everybody was seeing it, there was almost like what we call FOMO, the fear of missing out. And so when people thought that actually after Mauni Amavasya or maybe after Maghi Purnima, the crowds will come down, but that did not happen. I know my own friends and relatives who would have never ventured in any place close to that kind of crowds. All of them have gone because nobody wanted to miss out. I think all these factors have really helped.
So it was a FOMO Kumbh, a cool Kumbh, meant for so many more people. Nick has a point to make, but Toya has a question.
There's always been a FOMO to Kumbh, if we're going to use that. If you read the Prayag Mahatmyas, people have been for centuries. If you read the Puranas for millennia, Mahabharata, Ramayana, always people have been talking about Marge Prayage. When it's the month of Magh, you go to Prayag to take this, unlike any other form of worship anywhere in the world, this combination of sun, moon,
I think you're
waters,
right. It's
rivers.
Always existed, but never before have we seen a talk being made about the Kumbh economics or how things are building up. If Blinkit is saying that I'm going to deliver in 10 minutes at Kumbh, if banks are saying we are going to run ATM vans across Kumbh so you can go hop in, withdraw cash and come out.
I feel like you see it as a metaphor.
The sadhus and the akaras for centuries have been saying, come to Kumbh to trade. The trading, the akaras are spiritual, but also there's a trading element, there's business, there's property. That goes back centuries. On the Dakshina part, it's on the highways, it's on the waterways. Prayag is a trading center, it's a political center, but beneath all of that it is a spiritual center.
So can I ask you, Nick, because both you and Ami are actually historians, we're going to take advantage of that today and we're going to ask you a little bit more here about the history. Walk us through the ways in which Mahakumbh has been documented when it was happening in history. Tell us what that's looked like, and then tell us, you're someone who's immensely popular on social media. How did you feel the modes of storytelling changed this time, now that we could document it in the immediate?
That is a great question. So if you look at the Ashokan pillar, which may not be Ashokan, and it's said to have been in Kaushambi, but it may not have been in Kaushambi. So it's in Akbar's fort, in the fort at Allahabad, at the Sangam. And on it are inscriptions, which are kind of like where people have paid some money to write their name. So you have the big ones of Ashoka, Samudragupta, Jahangir. But you also have names of pilgrims, of Tirthyatris, who've had their name inscribed and a date. And the date is always Magh, the month of Magh. So we know that people have been coming to Magh and leaving their name. So that's the earliest kind of physical epigraphic evidence on the site that people have been coming in this month for a long time. But if you read in the Puranas, in the Prayag Mahatmyas, my favorite one of all is a queen from Mithila, so northern Bihar. There was a queen, Vishvesa Devi, which means the goddess of the universe. She ruled for 12 years. So she was a really powerful female ruler of India that many people may have forgotten. And she compiled the Ganga Vakya Avali, which is this collection of statements that she's a scholar and a poetess. So she's collected all the statements from the Puranas, from the Itihasa, about the importance of Ganga, about the rituals, Turpan, about Mundan, shaving heads, offering ablution, offering waters into the milk. All of these pinned down, all of these beautifully described, and the importance of Prayag and coming to Prayag. Then you have Chinese pilgrims, foreigner pilgrims, Farshin, Shanzang in the 7th century, Mark Twain, the Americans. I mean, people have been documenting their experience for millennia.
Can I then marry the conversation so far? There's history of Kumbh, and then there is how Kumbh was this time around and how it's been documented. If I were to ask you guys about these viral moments that have come out from Kumbh, can you give me your top pick on which one was the best? Can I go with mine first, because I don't want anybody taking it. I think the guys doing the digital snan of taking pictures and charging money to give those digital pictures snan in the Kumbh was an absolute delight. I think that was for me the best viral moment. But Ami, first then I'll go to Nick.
So there have been a lot of these moments which you are also right now, as we talk, you're putting it on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Though the one which I absolutely love is seeing the Mahamandaleshwars of different akhadas literally play in the water during the Shahi Snan, right? They're playing, and there are, I think, Amit Shah, and they're throwing water at each other. They are literally playing in the water. I think that was one of the best clips for me because it showed me what Ganga does to us. We call Ganga Maiya, right? She's our mother. And that clip shows what Ganga Maiya, that mother, can do for all of us. She makes all of us her kids. So for me, that was the best clip that I have seen.
Oh, yeah, brought in the child in you, yeah. Nick?
Yes, yeah, there is a real leela, real playfulness about the snan from the sadhu's perspective as well as Tirthyatris. Different snans had different effects on me. So some were much more serious and much more intense, and others were much more playful and fun. I like the lady who was dipping her husband on a video call into snan. And she was,
on the phone.
Yeah. And having been with my sister-in-law was with us, and she actually dropped her phone in the sangam. And I had to dive down and find in the sand and retrieved it, and it's working. But
what are you saying?
She also did an accidental phone snan.
We'll talk about which brand the phone was later
I was
after the
going to
broadcast.
say, did you know of the
Made in India.
the Mumbai society that took water from the Mahakumbh and poured it into their pool? So
Yes,
that the entire
yes.
pool had Mahakumbh water.
Yes, and I brought back 10 litres of Ganga Jal from the Sangam. I should tell you this. So we went out in the morning. One of the reasons why I did 6 instead of 5 snans is I went out in the morning on a boat. I collected 5 litres of Ganga Jal from the Sangam on Maghi Purnima. I then came back, I then got off the boat and I left the Ganga Jal behind. And a policeman said, don't worry, you can get it from anywhere, it's all Ganga Jal. And I was like, no, but I wanted to.
That particular.
So I went back to the ashram I was staying in for a few hours, and then I thought, I've got to go back. So I then went back again that day, in the middle of the day, and got 10 litres and then carried it back along with, as everyone does.
And you have your
And
bottles.
I've been distributing it to friends, family, neighbours.
How sweet.
Wait,
All
let's
right,
ask, Ami, I want to ask you. Sorry, go ahead.
If I can add one more thing to that, if you walked around in the Kumbh Kshetra, right? One of the things you would come across very often, like every 10-15 meters, if I may say, were people selling those cans, empty white cans of different sizes, so that people could carry back the Ganga Jal. You would see them everywhere. I think it was one of the most sold items in the Kumbh Kshetra.
For sure.
Yeah, true.
Tell us, Ami, also you're someone who you were recording. I saw some videos even from within the Kumbh where you were talking to other people at the Kumbh about the history of Kumbh. I want to ask you, when you were talking to people around you, how deep was their knowledge of the mythology, the story behind Kumbh?
If you talk to local people, like common people who come there, I think a lot of them know about the Pauranic story, where we have heard about the Samudra Manthan and then the fight between the Devatas and the Asuras, where the Devatas are running away with the pot of Amrit, and the Amrit falls in 4 places, Prayag being one of them, where the Kumbh happens. I think that story a lot of people know. But the history which Nick was talking about, or the documentation of the Chinese travelers, where we hear about Harshavardhan, Raja Harshavardhan, holding such mela where dharma sabhas are happening, that very few people knew. Also the history of Naga sadhus, of the akhadas, that very few people knew as such, but they were all very curious. So the curiosity has definitely increased, and people are talking about all these things now, which was not happening before. So I'm hoping that by and large, the knowledge will increase now, which was definitely not the case was not the case when I was talking to people.
Okay.
Is this the first time we're seeing movie promotions in Kumbh the way we did this time?
Yeah.
Where we had that, I feel like speaks to the virality.
Somebody called it the Super Bowl of India. Like, move aside IPL, Kumbh is here, and this is the place where brands will advertise and do everything.
Except
but can
that the intention of the
Everybody
people there
gets
is
eyeballs,
completely
right?
different.
And Kumbh, there you get 64 eyeballs overall. So it was the place to be.
Yeah, the Kumbh economics, we did a separate episode on all of that. So this is a good cue for everybody watching that if you want to know more about these things, fascinating, you can go back to YouTube and watch that. But as we draw this to a close, I want to ask both of you this. You know, when you go to a place like this, where there are so many people, I'm sure you meet this one person or have this one experience that gives you that light bulb moment, that little aha that happens, and you say, oh my God, this is something that I will go back with. Could you share with us one individual story that really touched your heart? I'll start with Nick. One story, Nick. I know you have several. I want one.
Too many stories. I mean, spending a night on the Sangam nose and talking to.
Maybe have a kind attention, please. This is the big.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, spending a night on the Sangam nose, spending a night in the Akaras, talking with the Naga Babas, in the ashram. I mean, I can't possibly think of one beyond many.
Okay, Nick will write a full book on it, and
Yes,
we'll
I am.
talk about
I am
that
actually.
later. Ami, one incident, one person,
Again,
one
I agree
experience.
with Nick, it's very difficult to pull out one. But I remember talking to a Naga sadhu in one of the akhadas, and I have always been very curious at what is it that takes one down this path of becoming a Naga. It is not at all an easy life, right? One is to say, yes, tyag do, sannyasi ban jao is one thing, but to go down this path of becoming a Naga is extremely difficult. So, when I asked him, his answer was, लोग इतने सारे साल भगवा कपड़े पहन के फिर भी नागा नहीं बन सकते. नागा होना प्रारब्ध की बात है. जब शिव बनाता है हम आ जाते हैं. And this answer I got from another lady Naga sadhu. I was like, ma'am, how is it that आप नागा बन रहे? And she said, बेटा आपके जैसे 4 मेरे बच्चे हैं. ये तो सब प्रारब्ध है. प्रारब्ध ही है जो यहाँ लेकर आता है. प्रारब्ध ही है जो सबको मिलवाता है. So that for me was a downer of everything. That it is indeed prarabdha that we all have become a part of this phenomenal called Kumbh Mela, the Maha Kumbh that has happened this year.
That's a beautiful answer. Nick, can we ask you, we'll come back to you for a second just to ask you, and yeah, maybe we will actually leave it on this, but we do want to ask, tell us a little bit about the spiritual here. So there's going to be another Mahakumbh in some years from now, there'll be another Kumbh some years from now. What will you do differently when you visit Kumbh the next time from how you did it this time? How will your journey be different? And spiritually, what do you think you'll be looking for then?
I would definitely like to spend much longer. I mean, ideally, I'd like to do. My dream would be to do Kalpvas, 30 days with my wife, sleeping on the straw. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I think we should at least do a period of that. So I think that I mean, so okay, I'm not waiting 12 years. This Mahakumbh Mela happens every year. I will be back in Prayagraj in January 2026. And then obviously going on to Ujjain and Nasik. But every year Prayagraj has a mini version of this. People do not need to wait for 12 years. Ma Ganga, Ma Yamuna and Ma Saraswati will come together every year at the same time under those heavens. It's only the position of Brihaspati that is in a 12-year cycle. Everything else is available. And you know, on a symbolic level, one is able to kind of come back to that moment at any time, and that is obviously the sadhana of the sadhus, that they are able to experience the divine or experience a level of consciousness that is available to all of us, even sitting right here in this studio.
Is your wife equally keen? Your kids, did you take them?
Yes. My wife, she came, and so did our 9-year-old daughter, and she made a promise to her friend that they would come back in 12 years. Yeah. Very powerful.
So many things. We've interviewed in the past 45 days several artists who went and remember Sounds of Kumbh we spoke about last time when you were here? They've actually done that. They've made a full album based only on the sounds that they picked up from there and music that inspired and came in. Brands, stories, documentation, viral videos. This has been, like I said, an event like no other. And FOMO, I think that's one word we can all agree upon, is where we will we can, very easily say is what. And that picture
This
is
is my-
real. Yeah.
Yeah.
This picture does tell, the full story of Kumbh, on how deep the faith goes in and what the FOMO was really all about. Thank you both for joining us and sharing your experiences. It's been lovely to sort of get a glimpse of that.
Thank you, Sonal. Thank you,
Thanks,
Toya.
Ami.
Thank you, Ami. All right, we're going to be heading into a quick break. On the other side, we are switching focus entirely. It is India Design Week, the country's most anticipated design week. Fresh perspectives, creative innovations. Kaveri visited. What did she find when she spoke to some of the country's top designers showcasing their designs at the week? We'll tell you on the other side.
माँ के पेट
Welcome back. Today is World Protein Day, celebrated annually on this day, and it highlights the significance of protein in our diets. The day is marked to raise awareness about all of the health benefits of protein and its intake, while also underscoring the issue of its deficiency. Furthermore, it also aims at enhancing global nutritional security through the inclusion of protein-rich foods in our diet every single day. The history of World Protein Day dates back to the times when the US Soybean Export Council took this initiative to inform individuals about the important role that protein plays, sufficient protein plays, in promoting improved nutrition and health. Over the years, the day has been transformed into a worldwide campaign that has witnessed several organizations, institutions, experts, individuals coming together to promote this very, very important food group.
So how can you celebrate this day? What can you do? Well, you can cook your favorite protein-packed dishes and serve your loved ones on this special day. You just had Shivratri yesterday. Take it as one day where you sort of indulge in protein for a little bit. But maybe make it also a habit to do it on a daily basis. Also share them on social media, highlight diverse sources, talk about how you get your best protein. It could be lentils, it could be beans, it could be fish, it could be chicken, tofu, nuts. It could be any of those really. Invite friends and family for a protein-themed potluck. All this to sort of bring in the importance of protein in our diets. But are we laying too much emphasis to protein? Where should we draw the line? What are the facts here? How much does this protein mean that we should all be like sort of having protein powders as well? To sort of bring some clarity into all of this, we've got Luke Coutinho back with us on the program, integrative lifestyle expert. Hi Luke, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us back. Always lovely to have you. And we're talking about something extremely important, protein. But as my grandmother listening to this program would say, कि आजकल की generation को बड़ा protein हो गया है, पहले तो ऐसा नहीं था. Or to say that we would have our regular dals and sabzi and that was okay. Today's generation is obsessed with protein. Is that true?
It is true. Your grandma has a couple of points around wisdom, but times have also changed. The quality of food has changed. The way we work out has changed. Disease has changed. A lot has changed in the human body. So yes, there is also the increase of junk food and people eating outside in restaurants. So when you're having most of your meals that way, you're always going to be deficient in protein. But when we ate our home food, our home cooked meals, most of our moms would make sure that we had protein with every single meal. So times have changed, and yes, we see quite a bit of protein deficiency in our country, but at the same time, it also gets hyped up to sell protein products, to make people feel that, hey, you need more and more protein. But everyone needs the adequate amount of protein according to their age, the kind of work they do, their lifestyle, whether they're vegetarian, non-vegetarian, vegan. But just throwing people with 2 grams of protein per kilo of their body weight and trying to make it generic can actually be harmful for a lot of people.
Okay, Luke, so many questions to ask you because frankly, when one looks at the number of protein or the amount of protein they're supposed to have and, uses their body weight to calculate that, and then you look at that final number, it can be a little intimidating to know that, okay, this is the number I have to reach at every single meal. So let me settle one question with you first. Eggs. How many eggs are too many eggs? I know a few years ago there was a lot of research saying that there's cholesterol in eggs, you should limit it. But I recently read that research itself had been debunked. So where are we on the 3 eggs and more are all right for us?
Absolutely, that's been debunked a long time ago, but we have to be smart. We have to understand that we're a carb-loving nation. Now, if I'm going to eat 3 eggs, 6 eggs, or 10 eggs at a time, nothing's going to happen. But if I'm going to pair that because it's got saturated good fats and eat it with carbohydrates, like 2 or 3 slices of toast, and I'm going to mix carbs with that, that is going to make the egg dangerous for us. The egg as a whole is a beautiful whole protein with the right amount of saturated fats. I can do 3, I can do 6, I can do 10 according to my training, according to my weight, according to my athletic goals. But the moment I start doing it, it's the same with eggs, and even if you take chicken and fish and animal protein, there's no problem. But the moment you mix it with carbohydrates, that's when we start to have the problem. But if you look at vegetarian protein, I'm supposed to mix my lentils, my legumes with a grain to make it a complete protein.
Correct.
If I have a bowl of dal and I think I'm getting protein, I'm highly mistaken. It's a lot of carbohydrate. But if I mix a lentil or a legume like a rajma rice, a chole rice, a dal rice, I'm making it a complete protein. So eggs, if you ask me, because I don't want to go crazy, people think I'll get all my proteins from 30 eggs a day. Bodybuilders do that. But for the layman, we can go up to 3 eggs, we can go to 4 eggs. Depending on my weight goals, I can do more of the whites and a little of the yolk. But the whole thing of just eating the egg whites, the yolk has the magic. We got to remember that. The yolk has all the nutrition, the vitamins, the choline, and everything else. So that's it about eggs. We have to have a disclaimer with this, because if you're doing eggs with a ton of bread and toast and all of that stuff, then I would keep the quantity of eggs low.
Right, right. Can I ask you about a typical vegetarian diet? I know so many people around me who are going off alcohol, going off smoking, trying to avoid any sort of meat altogether. For vegetarians, what are the alternate sources of getting in protein?
It's a great thing to hear that people are going off alcohol and smoking. I think that's what we need massively across generations in the country right now. When we look at vegetarians, we have abundant sources of protein. But we just have to remember that we are also the diabetic capital of the world. So when we're mixing a grain with a lentil, but our plates look like we have more rice than the lentils, the vegetables, the legumes, and the paneer, that's a little bit of a problem. But if I look at my beans, all of our legumes in our country, fantastic sources of great lean protein when I mix it with a great carbohydrate. Now, that doesn't have to be rice. It doesn't have to be roti. It could be sweet potato. Something as simple as that, which is also going to give me a ton of vitamin A for my hair, my skin, and, a lot of fiber. So it's really about the combinations. Then I have all of my lentils. And if I'm not dairy intolerant, I have my milk, which is my class A protein. I have my yogurt, my chas, my buttermilk. I have my paneer. I have tofu. I have non-GMO soy or tempeh. And I'm specifying non-GMO because soy is a troublemaker if it's genetically modified. But in our country, I don't believe we have that problem. So we can look at tempeh as a fantastic source of great protein for your gut, for your muscle. So we have a lot of it. And it's important. Now, if I'm athletic and I'm a vegetarian and my athletic needs require more protein, that's when I start looking for a quality supplemental protein. Quality without all the artificial sweeteners and the colors and the spurious proteins that exist in our country, because that can cause you more harm than good. So we have to look at the quality, and we never want to make our protein shake a meal replacement. We never want to think that, hey, let me skip a lunch, but let's have a protein shake because it's giving me 25 grams of protein. So we got to be educated and we got to be mindful about this, because sometimes even the most educated people look for shortcuts and replace meals with protein shakes. Your protein shake is a supplement. It is not a meal. So we need to be wary of that. But most vegetarians, if we go with the calculation of a 0.8 grams to 1 gram per kilo of your body weight. So someone 60 kilos getting 60 grams of protein from a vegetarian meal is absolutely simple. But again, that calculation also we need to flip on its head. 0.8 may just maintain. A lot of us already have less muscle mass. So we're looking at 1 gram, maybe 1.2, maybe 1.5, and even in some cases 2 to 2.5, depending on your level of athletics. If you're a patient, you're going through a muscle wasting disease, you're on steroids, you're going through a chemotherapy, a radiation, we will change your protein requirement. You have to eat for your particular disease. So we need to keep in all of these factors. Just taking more protein doesn't mean we're healthier, especially in a country where most people have acidity problems. We have low stomach acid, and we need acid to break down protein and extract amino acids. And that's why a lot of people feel bloated after having protein. They feel they have indigestion because they don't have the right digestive health to break down protein. So that's why it's a beautiful subject, but we all as Indian citizens have to bring a little bit of mindfulness and awareness to how we consume protein.
So, Luke, as we were introducing this topic, we talked about the fact that you today see protein everywhere, and you sometimes see it stuffed into products where you typically wouldn't expect protein. I'll give 2 examples. Protein dosa is now a thing, and protein ice cream has been a thing for a few years now. Just give our audiences a simple toolkit, Luke, when you're looking at the packet of protein dosa batter, or you're looking at the protein ice cream. What should you be looking for at the back to come to know if this is actually a healthy choice or not?
I always enjoy your show because you'll ask the most intelligent and relevant questions always. So thank you for asking this. So again, protein, look at the labels. Everything in the name of protein doesn't make the product healthy, even protein bars. You'll find a lot of hidden sugars, a lot of unnecessary fats, and just 3 to 4 to 5 grams of protein, which I can easily get from any other source. At the same time, if the label is clean, we want to look at protein. We want to make sure there are no artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose. We want to make sure that the colors, we don't have a ton of colors and chemicals in it. At the same time, protein bars are also a problem. They're being sold to kids in the name of, hey, there's a protein gap. But you'd rather not have that with the amount of other ingredients that it has in that'll actually cause more gut issues and inflammation in the body. So I encourage every Indian citizen to flip it over and read the labels. It is so important. And, since our Prime Minister is now promoting Ghar Ka Khana and home food, it's so simple where we can actually make our own little protein brownies at home, our own little protein chicky bars at home. And these are recipes being done in 15 to 20 minutes. I'm not against companies and food companies making this. But my message is respect health of children and people in our country. Give a clean product. Give an authentic product. Be accurate with your labels. And then, yes, those bars can help it. I'm on a flight today and I got 2 bars in my bag because I know I will need to supplement my meal with a protein bar until I get a proper meal. But there's a lot of wrong labels in our country, and I ask all parents and consumers to read labels before you purchase a product.
Yeah, understand what your body needs, I think. Understand which side of, are you above 30, below 30, male, female. Everybody has a different requirement. There's no one size fitting all when it comes to diet. Thank you, Luke, for always making us start our morning with the right choices. We leave you there for the moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
One survey found 73% of Indians are protein deficient. Scary numbers out there, but we hope that obviously this educates you, helps you understand how to properly eat that protein. Let's take you now to something entirely different. We're going to take you to stories from across the globe.
In a central district of Nabil, in northeastern Tunisia, also known as AI Rabat, a few workshops remain dedicated to the traditional craft of mat weaving, one significant part of the city's history. This craft is now struggling to survive with only a handful of artisans still practicing it. These artisans, who are focused and skilled, continue weaving mats mainly for mosques using golden rush strands, despite the diminishing interest in their art amongst the younger generation.
All right, and after that, we take you to horrifying news that came in from the United States just a few hours ago. If you're someone who has loved Gossip Girl, for example, actress Michelle Trachtenberg has passed away. She rose to fame as a child star in the 90s and 2000s. She died at just the age of 30. Police in Manhattan say they responded to an emergency call on Wednesday morning. They found her unconscious and unresponsive. She was pronounced dead at the scene. She's known for her roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as the younger sister Dawn Summers, and of course as the role of the socialite Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl.
Behind the glitz of the movie award season that culminates with Oscars on Sunday, Hollywood is fighting a battle to keep its place at the center of global film business. As Hollywood gears up for its biggest night of the year with Oscar awards on Sunday, Los Angeles is fighting a battle behind the scenes to defend its title as the global film capital. None of the Best Picture contenders this year were filmed in LA, home to most major film studios for most of the century. TV and movie production has been exciting Hollywood for years, heading to locations with tax incentives that make filming cheaper. Crew members were hoping for a rebound in Los Angeles after strikes by writers and actors in 2023, but statistics show that the comeback has been slow.
And two funny aspects every time the Oscars come around are the gift bags and the food. Wolfgang Puck says Hollywood stars are in for a treat come Oscar night. The top chef talks about everything that's going to be happening with the celebrities. They're going to finally be able to let their hair down and enjoy some delicious food at the Governor's Ball, which remember is the official Oscars after party. Look at those treats on your screen. After walking the red carpet, attending the Oscars, they are going to get to eat some delicious, delicious food. Obviously, the usual fine choice of wine, tequilas, also accompanying all of that.
Comedian and Oscar host Conan O'Brien helped roll out the red carpet for the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles on Wednesday ahead of the film industry's biggest award show. O'Brien, who's hosting the Oscar ceremony for the first time, joked that he would be in trouble for working as non-union labour as he pushed out the carpet where Hollywood's biggest stars will mingle and be photographed on Sunday, the 2nd of March.
All set? Now, I want to make sure you guys aren't crushed by this carpet. Just roll slow. It weighs over 6,000 pounds.
All right, shifting focus now to something that's taken place right here in India. India's Design ID is a premier design event. It features the ID exhibit, where top brands' designers present their latest collections.
Now, with the range of styles from pop to contemporary, it's a platform where creativity and innovation meet. It's also a platform where you get to understand which way is the design language of the world going. What's the flavor of the season? And Kaveri got us just that. Take a look.
Hello everyone, we are here at the country's most anticipated design week, India Design ID 2025, that brings and captures the essence and the pulse of our time. Art on display was nothing short of captivating, drawing attention and stirring emotions. Very interesting exhibit which is called Soaring to Nowhere, and it is by Sudipta Das, which explores the displacement and the fragile existence of refugees. This particular art piece, it talks about the recollections of migration and the pain of homelessness. Among the highlights were grand light installations that redefined how light interacts with space, transforming any room into an immersive experience.
This piece is called Flux, but it has been inspired by celestial lotus. If you will see the shape, it is that of a lotus flower when it opens up during rain.
While artists from across the globe brought their unique expressions to life, creating a rich tapestry of diverse creativity. The collections showcased seamlessly blended traditional craftsmanship with modern aesthetics, telling stories of nostalgia and reinvention.
This is a modern day puja thali. So usually the thalis that we have are round in shape. We created something in a linear format. Also for the newer generations, because if you give them a thali, they don't know from where to start. So we created something in a linear formation and put them in a sequence, sort of a sequence. It's also connected with the 5 senses, so you worship with all your 5 senses. The first one here is a diya for your sight. Then there's a agarbatti and a dhoop holder for smell. Then there's a bell for sound. Then we have a kumkum, haldi and akshada holder. Somewhere where you can store and somewhere where you can make a paste for touch. And then there's for taste, we have a prasad holder, or you can also place your flowers in it.
Rich textures, playful forms and bold, unconventional silhouettes. Each piece seemed to channel the vibrant energy of India.
For instance, something like this, let me tell you how it started. It started when COVID hit all of us, and we had to keep all our karigars engaged. And that's when Tarun came up with something something like this. We told them let's do something so keep them engaged, and that's how it started. Something like this. It is 9 emotions of human emotions, which are depicted on this artwork, the wall art. It's 9 different forms of Krishna, depicting 9 different human emotions. It's done on crochet, hand crochet, and then further embroidered.
True to its ethos, India Design ID remained deeply committed to sustainability and environmental consciousness, presenting designs that honor both beauty and responsibility. what exactly are you trying to do with sustainability?
Sereno means calm and serene. It's an Italian word. And that's our philosophy, to make amazing, beautiful garden products like planters, garden furniture, like seatings. And our specialization is into large size planters and aesthetically pleasing designs. Our story is totally into recyclability. So what you throw in the bin is what becomes our raw material to make these amazing planters and our products. So if you see that we have our own solar manufacturing on rooftop, which we use for our production. Last year we saved nearly 18 tons of plastic bags.
India Design ID was without question a captivating journey into the heart of design, innovation and timeless craftsmanship. Please tell me, what has been the experience like?
The experience has been wonderful. So we got to see so many different designs, and the overall curation is amazing as always, and ID never fails to impress. It's amazing.
Come across many designers, young designers doing great work. So that's what variation we have experienced. It's really nice to see Indian designer doing so well.
Every furniture and every design, it's very creative and next level. Like, we didn't imagine this level of creativity in furnitures. So we are lucky we came here.
A flagship initiative by Ogan Media, India Design ID continues to be proudly supported by Asian Paints as its title sponsor. This year, Color Next introduced the Color of the Year for 2025, Cardinal. Alongside this, 4 trend narratives for 2025 were also unveiled: Feel More, Salt, India Everywhere and Bad Taste, each offering a distinct perspective on rediscovery and the quest for originality. This year's curation has truly been exceptional. From designs that are shaping the landscape of the interior design in the country, from pushing boundary to avant-garde eclecticism to embracing the timeless philosophy of wabi-sabi in the contemporary designs, trailblazers are truly accepting and uniquely shaping the aesthetic of the Indian design in the country. This is me, Kaveri Gupta, with video journalist Guneet Monga reporting for The Breakfast Club.
All right, next we take you to a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro. It's Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look first at a market overview. GIFT Nifty signals a weak to negative start for Indian equities today. Asian equities have opened lower. This is after disappointing Nvidia earnings dragged US shares down. A lack of clarity over tariffs and impact for various economies is keeping equity investors at bay. Crude oil prices inch up in early trade, while gold remained near record highs.
Let's look at the sector in focus this morning. The RBI has reduced the risk weights on bank loans to non-banking finance companies, the NBFCs and the microfinance loans. Now, the microfinance loans given to consumers shall also be excluded from the applicability of the higher risk weights. Now, these easing measures are expected to significantly improve the credit flow for the NBFCs, enhancing retail credit availability, and higher bank credit growth by banks can have a positive impact on the economy as well. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's financial sector and the various other actionable insights on the markets. It's a premier destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need, brought to you by Money Control. All right, with that, we're going to slip into a very quick break. When we come back, we've got more coming up, and especially the video of the day that we want to leave you with. Everybody's talking about it.
आपके घर के खाने.
If you are, well, throw them out of here. Is anybody unhappy? I have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So go ahead, Elon.
And President Trump has put together, I think, the best cabinet ever. literally. So, and I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think that such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country has ever had, and I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you. Mr. Musk, are there about half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week? Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results from that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, like I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, should be, anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly a million.
This is not a high bar, guys. Come on.
All right, we usually end the show with a video that is inspiring, that is positive. That's how we've left it in the last few days. Today is slightly, it's very, very different. The video we're going to be sharing with you is one that's been very discussed in the last few hours. It's something that the US President Donald Trump actually shared on his social media.
Now the video has got, I don't even want to count how many million views by now. It's completely AI generated. And what is the video about? It's Donald Trump imagining what Gaza would be like. In fact, he's called it Trump Gaza. And the videos, I mean, the comments on it, you can obviously make out, make a mockery of what has actually happened there in a while. And also, there have been so many comments talking about the insensitive way in which it has been put out. Well, we are not drawing judgments. We're leaving it for you to decide for yourself on what you think of the video. Leave us feedback and comments on that subject. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Trump cars are shining bright, golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump cars are #1. Trump cars are shining bright, golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done.
Brought to you by...
If you are, well, throw them out of here. Is anybody unhappy? They have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So go ahead, Elon.
And President Trump has put together, I think, the best cabinet ever. Literally. So, and I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think that such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country has ever had, and I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you. Mr. Musk, are there about half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week? Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results from that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, like I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly a million
This is not a high bar, guys. Come on.
roughly a million employees have responded so far to this email. Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated? And is it your understanding and expectation when you post a directive on X that the cabinet secretaries will follow that order? Because several agencies have instructed employees that this is voluntary or not to respond.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. The president is the commander in chief. I do what the president asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying, what did you get done last week? And the president said yes, so it did that. We got a partial response. We're going to send another email. But our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for tuning into CNN News 18. I'm Shen Elizabeth Matthew. Let's begin this bulletin with the top news this hour coming in from Surat at this point. A fire broke out at Shiv Shakti Textile Market on Ring Road in Surat. Now, this was the second fire at the market in 2 days. Now, 24 hours and the blaze is still on. Massive fire in Surat's textile market and loss of more than 500 crores. More than 800 shops have been gutted in this fire.
अंदर टेम्परेचर बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, मटेरियल बहुत ज़्यादा था.